Tuttle here for Ferguson Roof Systems. For 43 years, Ferguson Roof Systems has been protecting Oklahoma's homes and businesses with quality roofing services. Their goal was to be the most honest and dependable roofing company in the state, all while providing free services such as lifetime labor warranty and annual inspections. Well, mission accomplished with thousands of client testimonials, an A+ Better Business Bureau rating, and a 5-star rating on Google. Look, the weather gives you enough to worry about, so why worry about who to trust with your roof? Call Ferguson Roof Systems today or find out more at fergusonroofsystems.com.
Happy Saturday afternoon to you, meteorologist Aaron Tuttle. It's been a busy day for me. I don't know about for you. I looked at a lot of data. My head hurts. Literally, I have a headache because of just looking at data. So, hey, you come to the right place. We're talking about the weather here for the rest of this weekend. Kind of show you what's been going on and what is to come. So you come to the right place. Please like and share. I know several people are talking about the Chiefs games. I heard their tickets are going for like $30 because nobody wants to experience that kind of cold. It's going to be a nasty game. Stacy, thank you for the stars on Facebook. Appreciate you. Always appreciate you guys sending me some love in that fashion or any other fashion, which means liking videos. Believe it or not, that's a way to show love. Sharing the videos is a way to show love. Telling your friends and family about me, that's a way to show love. Joining the Facebook fan subscriptions or YouTube, all the other platforms I have out there, you can do that as well. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Aaron, as well. Ashley, thank you very much. I appreciate the capital appreciate. Hey, Chad, what's up, brother? Julia, thank you very much. All right, so tell you what. Again, on Facebook, I post a link you can join my broadcast channel. So many of you have done so. And if you haven't done so, what are you waiting for? Just click the link. You can come right back. You won't miss much. Connor's in the house with some stars. Thank you, Charles, Stacy, Doug. You do have to have the instant messenger on your phone, though. But you guys on YouTube, thanks for checking in. As always, please leave your comments. Jody's in the house, so she can relay stuff. A lot of times, for people that come in late, and they say, what? And then she'll copy and paste or do it, give you a quick summary in the chat, both on YouTube and Facebook. And we'll get you there for Rumble. I know you guys are out there as well. I know Rumble now has live chat enabled. So as the Rumble platform grows and more of you guys get on board, then we'll throw you in the hat as well. And then Gab, you just have to watch the replay on Rumble and YouTube because Gab is lame. I'm just going to way to say it. I don't think they have enough money for the servers to keep that part going. Holly, thank you for the stars. Let's see, who else we got in here for this Saturday afternoon? Robert, Julia again. So thank you. All right, let's go on with the program here. We got a lot to discuss. I try to condense these as most as I can, but you know how that goes. First thing I'm going to do, because some of you woke up today and said, what's this snow? Why is it snow out there? There wasn't supposed to be no snow in the forecast. No one said anything about snow. Matter of fact, last night at 10 o'clock, the news guys on TV said no snow Saturday. There's not a map that shows snow. They about to get educated. This is my reel that I posted, a little short version from yesterday's live that I did. On this map, this time goes this direction. T for time. Okay, we're in physics class now. Pay attention, folks. So what happens here is you get here's Saturday morning. You get a lot of lift right here. This is omega. All right, this is along the frontal Arctic zone that comes in. What happens is with that, there is a trapped area of moisture along that leading edge of the boundary that also, when it hits the other air mass, helps to produce a little bit of cloudiness and precipitation. So, but it's so low to the ground. So the snow growth layer is actually in that shallow layer of the Arctic zone, and therefore you can squeeze out flurries. So don't be surprised Saturday morning from basically daybreak to noon in that window as this cold front moves through central Oklahoma. You are going to squeeze out some snow flurries for our Saturday and some cloud cover to go with it. Just a short little deal. Not going to add too much. Don't get excited. It'll be pretty to see. The kids will get excited and smile, and everybody smiles. Everybody smiles at flurry. On this map. All right, there you go. So I heard it wasn't supposed to snow today. Yeah, sound isn't good, but basically I just showed you. You can look at the reel on my page, but I just told you why it was going to snow today. So if anybody told you it wasn't going to, well, they don't know what they're doing. Anyway, there's a reason why it snowed. If you look outside currently, you can still see some cloud cover, but also a little bit of the clearing skies out there as well, because we just have that Arctic boundary that's moved through, and it does contain that cloud cover along with it. and it does squeeze out the precipitation. The old rule of thumb, by the way, forecasting trick, is the whenever you take an Arctic air mass and you replace it with a fresh, new, stronger Arctic air mass, you squeeze out snow. Sometimes you squeeze some decent snow out of that. This time around, I was just expecting some flurries, and that's pretty much what we got. But that's just something that happens around here. Now, not everybody across the state may have gotten it, especially maybe eastern, southeastern Oklahoma. It kind of depends the trajectory and some other things that are happening. But needless to say, a lot of you did see it. All right, so out there currently with 16 degrees, so it is cold still, 16.5. Matter of fact, I think that dropped actually like half a degree. So we've kind of teetering right around this point since this morning, since that cold front came in. If you do look at the winds across the state, they're still all out of the north. The exception to the strong push of cold air is down here in southeast Oklahoma. This little quadrant of the state is still getting the big push. Otherwise, these are some wind gusts up around 20 to 30 miles per hour. Here's another look at that. So here a look at temperatures just across some of the cities involved, and you can see the teens out here over central Oklahoma. Same thing up here for Tulsa. Northern, northwestern Oklahoma, Woodward, you guys are at 12 degrees. Like we said, down south, a little bit warmer to the lower 20s along the Red River. And down into southeast Oklahoma, you guys still quite don't have that push yet. When you do factor in the winds that are out there, though, let's see, what do I have here? So, like I said, here are the gusts, 25 to 30 plus miles per hour across the state. So with those gusty north winds, you end up with a wind chill value that is either in the old goose egg category, so it feels like 0 degrees out there in Oklahoma City at times, and also feels like it's in the negative numbers here in the northwestern quadrant of the state, from Ponca City on down toward Hinton, Elk City, etc. So very cold, very brutal day today, and tomorrow will be even colder. So that's kind of how our Saturday's shaping up. If you look elsewhere, like I mentioned, there's a little freezing line. Little yellow line represents where the cold front push is, and the temperatures dropping back behind that into the single digits still, into the panhandle. You look at the wind chill values, their wind chill values out here into the negative teens across Oklahoma. So woof, it is a cold day. All right, so like I mentioned earlier, we did have that little bit of snow that moved through. This is the radar replay. So this shows up here on this radar view and on this radar view. Didn't see much here in the Tulsa area here. There might have been a couple flurries, real light. Otherwise, had a good batch of them here moving through central Oklahoma when that front did progress through. Now, as far as a winter storm watch goes, far eastern Oklahoma into Arkansas is where the winter storm watch is in effect, and that is for more measurable snow than we'll get here. Now, we will see, I think, some purple counties being highlighted, which means a winter weather advisory, and that should be issued soon for tomorrow for snow. Meanwhile, here's a look at the next storm system coming our way. This is the water vapor channel in the atmosphere. This measures the moisture content with the next storm system. That's coming out the Pacific Northwest. There's a lot of moisture with this. That's going to be rolling through the Rockies right through Oklahoma. And it's very important as to how much moisture is left over that doesn't get scoured out by the mountain terrain, right? And then after that, we look at some other things. So one thing I will show you, this is when you factor in the temperatures that are out there as to the profile of the atmosphere, as to what it can support when it comes to precipitation. The blue is going to be snow that you're going to see here on this map. The red is freezing rain, and the orange is sleet. So the take home here as we head into Sunday afternoon and evening is that the body of Oklahoma, the atmosphere for the profile is mostly all snow. Maybe the southern counties along the Red River and the far southeast Oklahoma is going to be sleet, and that would continue on into most of central, north Texas, northeast Texas, even west Texas, and the freezing rain line down here from like Bryan College Station to north of Houston, Lufkin maybe, and then back out here towards San Antonio and south central Texas. So that is the breakdown. So any precipitation that falls in this zone will be broken up into these three categories for our Sunday into Monday. And if we push this forward in time, you see that kind of expands. This just goes through Monday morning. So again, there's the freezing line down there into Texas for the mixture of sleet in orange, red freezing rain, snow for Oklahoma. Then as that system pulls away, we get a little bit of a wraparound for that Monday night to Tuesday, so some more light snow. Probably won't amount to much, if anything, but need to say that'll be the wrapping up of the system. So let's take a look at how this system looks. It's coming out in two waves for what we're going to experience here for Sunday. So this is Sunday afternoon. This is the leading edge here. of upper level lift in the atmosphere. And this is the back end, which comes through. So this in other words, this first one comes in for Sunday midday to early afternoon. And then this one follows for Sunday night and Monday morning. So it's a 1-2 as far as the amounts of precipitation goes and the amount of lift in the atmosphere. And if we look at the other models that do analyze the upper levels of the atmosphere for the jet stream, you'll notice there's really not much for pattern change. I'll flip through. So here's the UK Met, similar look. Here's the Canadian model, the high-res version, similar look. There's a very short-term model there, similar look. Here's the NAM, similar look. German model, similar look. GFS, similar look. Another version of the global model for the Canadian and the European. So they're pretty much all the same. A little bit more of a dip back here. That'll be interesting to see what happens with this for the secondary wave if anything comes in a little stronger. But if the question is, all the models have the same configuration, shouldn't they all have the same snow output? It's funny. Each one uses a little different physics scheme. The other issues we have to contend with is where is the track of the moisture going to go? Now remember, the big blob is out here. Does it do this and kind of track over this part, right? Or does it do this and the moisture kind of track here? Or does the moisture kind of track down here? Because wherever the big moisture pool is where you're going to get the snow. Let's put this in motion for you. So watch how this big blue and green area comes on over, boom, right across Oklahoma, then zips on off to the east. Another little secondary batch we talked about. And then there's a final wave for Monday night and Tuesday that comes through as well. I mentioned that several days ago. So let's pause this because this is kind of a key factor here. For Sunday afternoon, I want you to visualize the size of Oklahoma. I'm going to make this easy for you. Let's do this. We're going to zoom in. All right. And I'm going to put this on this period, right? Sunday morning to, okay, so here's midday. So here's Sunday afternoon. Now, if you can visualize I-40 corridor, if you can't, I'll draw it on here for you. See that? That's about I-40. You know, that stinks. That's feast or famine when it comes to moisture in the atmosphere to produce snowfall. Northern half of the state's got plenty. The southern half of the state, not so much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back here centered, and we're going to look at the other models to see where they like to put the moisture. And then we're going to see how it all jives. And this is going to be why we're going to look at a various range of snow outputs. So here's the European model. A lot more moisture, mostly focused from northern half of Kansas, northern half of Oklahoma to Kansas. The Canadian model actually has it going right through the center part of the state. The American model is a little bit more south of the I-40 corridor, but also to the north. Icon model, German's pretty much right along the I-40 corridor, a little bit to the north. NAM is north, RAP is north. Another Canadians all over, and then the UK Met's actually kind of central, but also north. So the take-home is that you do see some models that do favor a little bit of a southern trajectory from the I-40 corridor, but most of them are to the north. So now you can infer from that most of the snowfall totals, the significant ones, should be, you got it, mostly north of the I-40 corridor. Doesn't mean you won't have it south, but as far as the heavier accumulating snow, that should be the way that goes. But let's take a look at the RAP. For the lift in the atmosphere. Now, remember we talked about the brighter the red colors equals the stronger the lift. As we go through time, this is on going into Sunday. So early Sunday morning, so late tonight, Sunday morning, we start to kind of see this lift just kind of hang around the state. Part of that's because of the frontal boundary that came through. And then we're going to see the influence of the system that comes in from the west. So we have this light lift throughout the state, which will continue to help to gradually generate cloud cover. And as we head into the afternoon, enough of this will eventually try to saturate the lower levels to produce some snow. So as we move from Sunday afternoon into Sunday night, you can still see there's plenty of little patchy areas of lift that keep developing. So we're kind of in a prolonged pattern. We're going to probably get some light flurries, very light snow off and on that moves throughout the state, just because there's really no rhyme or reason as to the location of these little strong pockets that rotate around, except for until you get to like maybe Monday morning, where they kind of do favor this area here. And this is where we're going to talk about the precipitation outcome of that here in a minute. But so we should have kind of just a snowflakey type 24-hour period from midday Sunday to midday Monday as a result of that. If we do kind of translate that into precipitation, let's see how that unfolds. You'll see a batch of snow that moves through in blue over a good chunk of Oklahoma. And then in the latter part of this map, we're going to start to see pink and red colors down here in Texas, for the freezing rain and the sleet that'll be developing down here in this part of the Lone Star State. But you can see that last batch here Monday morning of some heavy precipitation too. That's that secondary wave of energy I talked about. So again, timing on this, and I'm going to zoom in here in a second, but here is the early morning. It actually kind of favors an early morning breakout, this particular model. It might be a little ahead of its time, but regardless, that's kind of the look to it. And then there's that other secondary push that gets going from Dallas-Fort Worth southward and also off to the east. And there's southeast Oklahoma there for Monday morning and Arkansas. So Arkansas is going to get kind of two really heavy waves versus Oklahoma for this. So they will get a lot more snow than we will out of this deal. Now, I'm actually going to kind of favor the breakdown of how the GFS looks for the snow. So I'm going to kind of, I have to pick I've got to pick some way that I go. And I like a blend, but I'm going to go lean heavy with the GFS the way it looks because I like its output. So here's noontime, for example. It's got this snow over a good chunk of Oklahoma. Again, it's got a good area here south of I-40 during the midday hours. Then that wave kind of moves on off during the evening. So by 6 o'clock, it looks like it's kind of winded down. And then by 3 o'clock in the morning, there's another little wave that starts to go as that secondary batch of energy moves in. And that starts to light things up down here in southeast Oklahoma as well. So 6 a.m. on Monday, and then 9 a.m. and noon. So still snowing in at least southeastern quadrant of the state through noon on the American model. And then if you look, I think it does have it. Yeah, there's that Monday night, Tuesday morning little skip of snow that quickly goes through. Probably won't add a whole lot, maybe a dusting, probably all you can get out of something like that. If we do look at kind of some ensemble models that we can kind of, what they kind of blend things together, there is a wide spread from nothing to as much as like 3 inches here for Oklahoma City. The average though is getting pretty close to an inch on this particular one. This other one here, same idea. Let me see, total, it's only going about a ½ inch. But it's got a spread up near not much of anything to 3 inches. And this is the way this whole thing has been. Now, the European, which we looked at the ensembles for it's consistent that it's going to get snow. There's only a couple of runs where it doesn't think it won't, which is actually new because they've been solid this whole time. But it keeps dropping the final output to ½ inch of snow. So the European is not very excited. Again, because of that track of that moisture that we showed you. It's a feast or famine. I just did a model point click in Oklahoma City, and that's the reason why the output's a little lower. So again, I'll show you just the wide range of solutions. So there's the European model. And your take home, I want you to see on the take home of this, for most of the data is going to be something like this as far as where the measurable, significantly measurable snow goes. Doesn't mean say you won't have anything out here south and west of this boundary. You'll still have light snow accumulation, very light, dusting kind of a deal. But as far as like 1 to 2 inches, you're going to kind of watch most of them fall in this corridor. So again, there's the European, there's the American, there's the Icon, there's the NAM, and finally the other high resolution one. So the take home on these, when you see these high resolution, you see the higher outputs kind of sneak in there, that tells you that there will be some spots that do get more than 2 or 3 inches of snow, but the models have a tough time predicting it, other than the fact they will favor certain areas of the state. And the take home here is they favor the northeastern quadrant, and they also favor the southeastern quadrant. I do think, however, some of this will be mixed in with sleet, which will reduce the eventual snow amounts. So all in all, I'm going to go with the American model for my snowfall forecast. So in other words, a dusting of snow between this yellow and red line out here in Oklahoma. So D for dusting. And then you have 1 to 2 inches favored here over central Oklahoma. So pretty much anywhere from, you could probably do something like this, kind of in this range. But I still think there's probably going to be a sweet spot up here, and it may even branch into Stillwater. Somewhere in here, it's going to be a good favored area. You're going to get 3+ inches of snow, and then down here you might get another 3 inches of snow if not too much sleet has contaminated this region. So there you go. Some dusting, 1 to 2, and then basically 2 to 3, and there might be somebody gets a little excited, more than that, because the snow ratios are still pretty dry in that part of the state for accumulation. So that's what it looks like right now in the data. When you look at the ice down south, same kind of a deal. We'll have that little mixed bag here that shows up in the model data for Sunday evening into Monday. Otherwise, as we go into time, more of this little light, very, very light freezing drizzle kind of develops here in North Texas in the late Sunday evening time frame, but it's going to be mostly sleet for this region. So all this blow up here for Sunday night into Monday morning, this is all going to be basically sleet in this round. You will have, like I said, just a little bit of light freezing drizzle mixed in. It's just basically enough to cause problems on the roadways. And then down here on the south end of it, this is where you're going to get the freezing rain that'll end up developing for those folks down in Texas. And same kind of idea, just enough to cause problems on the roadways, not necessarily enough to cause power outages or anything like that. Now by Monday, this stuff starts to wind down by, looks like, mid to late afternoon, sooner than that in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So nothing has changed for you guys down in Dallas. If you look at accumulations when it comes to sleet and freezing rain, the European has it's kind of a contamination issue here on this particular map, because it does have a little bit of freezing drizzle or rain mixed in, but most of these totals are for sleet, which is very low. If you're looking at just pure freezing rain, for example, we got to look at the NAM model, which is down here, and this is where we're going to have freezing drizzle and freezing rain accumulations from Austin to the Woodlands, just north of the Woodlands, in Houston to College Station, Lufkin. So that's where you're going to have your freezing rain in Texas, with amounts maybe as much as a quarter-inch in some areas. But shouldn't cause at least any significant power outages, maybe some isolated stuff. But that's how the breakdown is for ice in Texas. So there's your freezing rain there, and this is mostly sleet here, with just a little bit of freezing drizzle or rain mixed in. All right, now let's go to temperatures. Well, obviously we know it's cold now. So what's going to happen here for the rest of today? Well, obviously they're not really changing much, right? They're kind of holding into the teens, where they're going to fall as we, of course, head later in the day with less of the sun angle, helping to offset the Arctic air that's in place. So by 6 o'clock, if you're heading out this evening, you're going to want to bundle up, as we're going to have a temperature of 12 degrees here in Oklahoma City, being the single digits north of us into the rest of the state. Through evening, though, those single digits continue to infiltrate the rest of Oklahoma. As we head into the, let's go 5, 6, and 7 o'clock in the morning, you can see our temperatures across the state are hugging pretty close to the goose egg. So right around 0 degrees in many areas for central and northeastern Oklahoma. As we head into the afternoon, though, we're going to rebound for you on Sunday into the lower teens and single digits. So we'll top out maybe about 11 degrees here in Oklahoma City. Single digits up to the north and east. Again, part of that's because of the cloud cover that should be increasing, and also the snow that should be developing. And then we'll cool you back down Monday morning. Now, earlier model data had Monday morning and Tuesday morning the coldest of this period. Yes, it's still the coldest, or should be, but it may not be, let's do it this way, it won't be as cold as it could have been, because skies should not be clear. If the skies were clear and the winds were light, then we would drop out into the negative numbers pretty hard. But because the clouds act like a blanket, then we've got some other things going on with the wind, they may stay up just enough to where we don't crater like we could have. But regardless, it's still going to be cold, down around 0. I mean, some of these numbers are in the negatives, probably especially in the valleys. So that's kind of for into your Monday, and then of course we'll slowly recover little by little from Monday onward, but it's going to be a very slow recovery. All right, the winds that we talked about, obviously they're very gusty out there now. So this afternoon, still up around 20 to 30, 35 miles per hour. So bundle up out there. I'll show you how to dress here in a minute for the kids. Those winds do die down, though. By Sunday morning, they're only into the, nothing really, northwestern Oklahoma. But they're still a little breezy here in southern and eastern Oklahoma, including the metro. So wind chill values will still become a problem. I'll show you that in a second. Now, the winds do die down there for Sunday afternoon during the peak of the snow. And as the snow moves off, the winds pick back up a little bit. So we're back into the wind gusts to 20 miles per hour. And that lingers on into Monday morning. So most of this weekend through Monday is going to be on the breezy side. So we factor in the wind chill values this afternoon. We're going to be feeling like it's below 0 out there. Feel like it's minus 12 in Ponca City this evening. Minus 8, 9 here in Oklahoma City. So that's pretty nasty. So we head into the morning hours and the rest of our Sunday. So we feel like the minus teens and minus single digits. As the winds die down a little bit like we talked about. That'll recover a little, but then we're right back as the winds pick back up into the negative numbers, pretty much most of the state. And this will linger on into Monday morning. So wind chill values here into the negative 10 to minus 15 degree range for Monday. All right. Now, temperatures obviously are going to be cold the next few nights and even the next few days. And then Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to see what happens. So, again, I don't think we're going to hit the 42 on Wednesday. Model's always too fast to warm it up. Freezing point, like 30, 32. I can see that. I can see us getting right to about freezing. Thursday, a cold front comes in. Right now, the models have it coming in at the end of the day, so like, just after 5 o'clock or so. If it comes in a few hours earlier, those temperatures will not reach 41. We'll still be into the 30s or colder. Depends on what time the Arctic air arrives. Otherwise, it's a glancing blow, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a minute. And so this number will be colder as well for Friday, so probably 20s for our temperature for Friday. So that's why all these temperatures in extended need to be adjusted. So we look at the Weather Service highlights here, where they're thinking for the snow, like you talked about. It kind of jives with those two trains of thoughts on the moisture train and the 1 and 2 punch of the systems. They kind of favor this area of the state, and then they'll later favor, it's not on here, but this area of the state too. So when they do their forecast, it really wasn't different from what I kind of liked. 1 to 2 inches from this area to here, with Stillwater being the cutoff, and then somewhere 2 to 3 kind of in this zone here. So we're kind of on the same page, so that's good. When it comes to the heavier snow amounts of 2 to 5 inches, so that's in this area here, into pretty much all of Arkansas. So if you're watching from Arkansas, this is your storm system, that's for sure. Anyway, so that's what the winter storm watch is out there. So travel, obviously a problem. And you also have to watch for, any power outages has become a problem, just so you know. So if you are traveling, you're not just sticking around, the snow amount is the main impact, and that is in the moderate to major category. So it indicates obviously some much higher snowfall totals here in Arkansas, in that little red area. So that will lead me to the next point I wanted to make. You can go to my website, aarontuttle.weather.com, look at the weather data tab, go on down here to road, multi-state road conditions. And when you do, you'll pull up this image here. It'll show you the actual ground temperatures. It is a rule of thumb that once the soil temperatures get into the 30s, which now they are, that frozen precipitation area roadways is much more likely to cause travel issues. So we do expect whatever snow we do have to cause some problems, so keep that in mind. So you will have the snow route plotted on here once they get that thing up and running. For Oklahoma road conditions as well, you'll be able to see the snowplow pictures once they load. You can also see the live traffic cameras. You can pick on these, find out how the traffic is moving. And you can zip this all across town, and it's Tulsa, for example. I just have it centered over Oklahoma City. And then for traveling Kansas, you can check on their road conditions. Same idea. You can click on any of the icons. And for Missouri, and there's Colorado, and there's Texas on here. You can do that. And then you can do, I think this is New Mexico, and also Arkansas. So that way you have all the answers you need as far as your traveling is concerned. Now, if you're wanting to know, are we done with the cold air? Has the pattern changed? So earlier when all this was unfolding weeks ago, I said we have to watch to see if the polar vortex ends up it's going to do one of two things. Either it's going to set up shop kind of in this zone, or it's going to set up shop like it normally does, which is kind of in this zone. Well, it turns out that the models originally had hinted at it here, but then they changed it, and now they moved it here. So when it's in this configuration, that means the cold air that comes in gives glancing blows to this part of the country, and we're usually on the back door, where it just kind of spills in just a little bit, and we get a little glancing blow, and then it's out of here, versus the first round that we experienced, which went from here and went right down the Rockies. That's how we want it. If you want it the coldest of the cold, then that's the path you want. This path here, it's cold, but it's not, doesn't last as long, and it's not as a cold shot. So watch this in motion. So here comes another threat, or it's another shot here now that we'll go through, and then that erodes, and here comes a secondary wave for the later this week. See how we get a glancing blow right here? But most of it is out here across the northeastern part of the country. So I'll play this for you one more time. So we get this last little ditch here that starts to erode, and then boom, here comes a secondary wave right here, and it kind of goes this fashion, but we do get a little bit of a hit on it. So that's what we're going to have for later in this week. So the pattern still holds for cold, just not as brutally cold. So that's some good news there. The other thing, I meant to pull this up earlier. This is that vertical slice of the atmosphere. This is the American model, just to show you what I had showed you where the biggest moisture pool was in that model. And it was down here for the mid-levels, right about here up. So I'll tell you this again, if you haven't seen this before, this is if you were to do a cross-section of the atmosphere. We look vertically, so 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, 25,000 feet up from the surface. And we're going to look at, this is the snow growth layer. This is where you develop your snow in the atmosphere. This is between 10 and 15,000 feet up. This is noontime Sunday on this spot here under the deal. Now, if you'll notice, there's plenty of green. Let's see, I'll outline this here. There's plenty of green right here. So green is for moisture. There's green here, 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 all like this, right? So this is where all your moisture is in the atmosphere. I would, if you want snow, you would want all this to be green. Unfortunately, we have just sections and spots of green that rotate through. That's not very good for a big snow event. So what we have down here is a lack of green, right? So there's no moisture down here in the first part of our Sunday. From lunchtime, from the morning to lunch, this part of the atmosphere has to moisten up. So we waste a lot of this snow growth layer where the moisture is and the lift is in this area, these little red lines. We waste a lot of this just to moisten up the atmosphere to get the snow to hit the surface. So we could have had probably 2 or 3 more inches on any given point had we had this part of the atmosphere saturated, and that we do not. So that's one part of the equation as to why we're getting lower amounts. The secondary part is it's still fighting the drier air even as the rest of the system moves through. And then once that first wave kind of gets out of here, here's that secondary wave we talked about for Tuesday. Let's see, late Monday night, Tuesday morning, which still has some lingering moisture here. Now, the difference by the time all this happens is the new snow growth layer is way down here where there isn't any broad upscale lift in the atmosphere. There's no synoptic lift here. So the last bit of synoptic lift like we talked about was in this little batch here and this little batch here, which looks like Sunday night into Monday morning. So that 1-2 punch we talked about. This is that residual one that's going to give us some flurries, just because you do squeeze out flurries in this cold air once you're in this kind of a pattern. But as far as measurable, significant, 1 to 2 inch possibility goes, this is what you want, and we have such a small window for it and such little moisture to work with. But regardless, all that said, this is the American model for a click point over Oklahoma City, just to show you how much snow it does produce. And it does say we'll get about a little over an inch to maybe 1.5 inches out of it. So that's kind of what this particular spot did. Now, if you're in Tulsa, for example, let me go here and pull you guys up. Now, for you, same idea, but look, you have a lot more moisture to work with here than we did in Oklahoma City. So big difference in 100 miles or so. Remember, I-40 was that cutoff line, and I picked a spot pretty much right along that I-40 area, which had a little drier moisture to work with. Where you have more moisture to work with, well, guess what? Your amounts here go between 2 and 3 inches. So this top of line, this little white line, is the total measurement of snow, and it says just about 3 inches of snow. So there you go. So that's how you get more snow in Tulsa than you can in Oklahoma City. All it takes is just a little bit more moisture to work with. So they have a lot more green here on the map during the period than we did, because they're in that more favorable northern tract. Now, that said, if for whatever reason those models are wrong, and that track goes from, east-west, here's I-40, just north, and it decides to drop 50 miles or 100 miles, but it's still the same track, all of a sudden that changes everything. So who gets the heavier snow and who doesn't? Right now, you got to go with what the trend is in the models, right? If I were just to say they're all wrong, it's all going to go south, I've got nothing to base it on, and it would just be total guesswork. I could real-time try to plot a trajectory graph, a telemetry, and try to see if they're off, but I don't think they will be off this short distance into the event, so I'm going to take it for their word. All right, so here's a couple things here to keep in mind. Frozen pipes. So we talked about this, and so if you're new to winter weather, you're not really sure what to do, open your kitchen, bathroom cabinet doors to allow warmer air to circulate around the plumbing. Matter of fact, you can start to do that right about now if you're in central and northern Oklahoma. If you're in southern or southeast Oklahoma, you don't have to do this yet. It's once you get into the mid-teens is when you really need to start doing this. But needless to say, and you can drip the faucets just a little bit, and that will help the running water to, at a trickle, prevent the pipes from freezing. And of course, if you're going to be abandoning a home or turning it off, you want to make sure the heat is on. That's just kind of common sense stuff, especially at nighttime, so that you can prevent pipes from bursting and freezing. And then keep the garage doors closed, especially if there are water supply lines in the garage. So that's a little tip there. This was another one. It mentioned you could thaw pipes with warm air, like a hair dryer or space heater. Do not, of course, leave space heaters unattended. And do not use kerosene heaters or open flames unless you just want to live dangerously. And obviously, if you do have a pipes that bust, shut off the water immediately. And be careful turning it once back on. Once pipes are thawed, slowly turn the water back on and check pipes to joints to make sure that there's not any cracks. But meanwhile, to try to prevent that, like I said, keep the cabinets open, vanities open, let the warmer air circulate through, and keep the water flowing by doing a little trickle thing. It's kind of too late to do it before the cold weather sets in, so if you haven't done it yet, well, you're rolling the dice. All right, so let's talk about the kids. Make sure that they are dressed appropriately. They will need to be dressing in layers. That's the key. If you're going to the Kansas City game, for example, those folks would have to dress like the person here on the right. They would have to have all of these things on, plus some boot warmers in there and some hand warmers to stay on the hot side because they're sitting still. So that would not be a fun thing. I bet you those stadiums, I bet you half the game, half the stands is empty. Let's talk about the kids, little kids first, your little buddies. Make sure you got a warm shelter for them if it's outside, and that means more than just a little, I don't know, whatever you'd put out there, but they need to have a little heating pad and make sure the water doesn't freeze over, stuff to block them from the wind, and then you need to check their paws, make sure that they're not having any problems as far as hypothermia is concerned, shivering, all that kind of stuff. Of course, my little dogs shiver all the time just if they want a treat, so it's hard to tell, or they're begging for food. It's hard to tell it's because they're cold. Let me see. I got one more on here, I think. Yeah, so there's the provide shelter deal. A wind block, heated water bowl. See if the floor can be elevated from the ground just so that the cold air doesn't transfer through. Cats are a little bit a whole different story. Cats are cats, man, especially the feral ones. They'll figure it out. And then I don't know if you don't want to walk your dog in this in this stuff, but just check their paws, make sure they're not covered in snow or cracked. If you do want to, one more thing here. If you are going to travel, make sure you've got your batteries good, your windshield wipers are good, you have coolant in there, other systems affected by temperatures, your tires, make sure they have good tread, clear snow and ice from your windows, lights and camera. Don't be one of those that just drives around with it flying off your window, off your car, because then that hits everybody else and blinds them, and then you cause an accident. Plus, I think it's illegal. Pack an emergency supply kit. So mobile phone, chargers, batteries, blankets, flashlight, first aid kit, some food, candle, to melt the snow for drinking water. Ooh, that's big time. We're not going to have that problem here, I don't think. Stack of sand or cat litter for traction, snow shovel, ice scraper, battery booster cables, that kind of deal. And there's a couple of phone numbers you can use for Oklahoma and Texas for traveling around. There's some websites you can go to as well. Let's see. The last thing I have on here is snow. So how do you measure snow? That's the issue here. Okay, so this is a tutorial on how to measure snow. So you want to find a flat, unsheltered area. So because the buildings and structures can cause the snow drifts, and you don't want to measure snow drifts. So kind of out in the middle of the open area. Use a ruler. Stick the ruler in the ground until you just hit the ground. Don't jab it down into the dirt. And then make sure it's perpendicular, 90-degree angle. Read the measurement, and then go take a few more. Just kind of average them together. This is how they're trying to say, don't look at it from this angle. Crawl on the ground and look at it if you want to get technical. And then you can submit your report to the National Weather Service through their Facebook page, Twitter page, email. So many ways you can reach the National Weather Service, and then they'll put in your official report along with everybody else, and they'll build some maps, and then they'll pass that along to us and the media, and then we'll be able to show you how much snow fell. So that's kind of how all that stuff works. Let's see. So I know kids are coming in from out of state. Stillwater, I've had a bunch of you reach out for OSU. So the issue mainly is just for Sunday, as far as the snow is concerned. On Monday, it's not that big of a deal once you get past the early morning period. So they can come in Monday, just whatever we have. If it's, in that area, 2 inches, 3 inches, that's not a whole lot on the ground. And if it's somewhat dry and it kind of blows mostly off the ground, then it's not that big of a deal. But it is what it is. So they'll have to, if they're driving, if they're driving from the north, well, obviously they got a little bit more snow to drive through from southeast Kansas or Missouri. And if they're driving from Arkansas, a lot more snow out there as well. But that's about it. Let's see. Jimmy already wants to know when the next storm system is. Man, we just can't. Let's get through this one first. This one took enough energy. But I will caution you, as you've noticed, when we talk about these things from the beginning, and I always do this, is, by the way, thank you, Leslie, for the stars, you too, Megan, and for the rest of you that I missed while I was looking at maps. Angie, I see you. When you see those snowfall maps posted on the internet, a week out, 10 days out, just just laugh. Don't take them serious. So when I show you those, we're beyond 48 hours. I always tell you that this won't be accurate because snowfall amounts can't be accurate beyond 48 hours. That's just the way it is. What we can do is watch for a trend. We can see where the model's starting, and then we can see how they're going. Are they getting drier? Are they getting wetter? Is it going to be more snow, less snow? And then we can look at the change in direction. Is it going more to the north? Is it going more to the south? So those are the take-homes you can do when you're looking at those kind of maps long range. But beyond 48 hours, when you're looking at official snowfall forecasts, don't even waste your time. Anyone who says they can is lying to you. Sorry. I'd do it if you could. Science isn't there. So, but what you can do is just kind of use it as a tool to go, oh, so there might be something coming here in a few days. Because it could easily evaporate too, I mean, look at this system. It came in at one point, it had about a foot of snow for a good area of Oklahoma when it first came out in the data, and then each run after that started backing off little by little by little, and all of a sudden they're down to 2 to 3 inches in the output. That's a big difference between a foot to 2 to 3 inches in a week's time. So that's a case in point as to why you want to be careful with that. Cody's the system inland yet? Is actually just now getting inland. That's another good point Cody brought up. So a lot of our modeling data comes from sounding forecasts, or excuse me, balloon soundings that are launched from the National Weather Service at certain spots of the country twice a day. So the storm systems a lot of times aren't sampled by those balloons, and so the models will have to infer based off of satellite trends and then some other things that they can do. So the storm could, in theory, come in stronger, or in theory, it could come in weaker. But you won't know until it gets sampled. And this morning was probably the first time it got a little bit sampled, at least the leading edge of it. And then the one that comes in this evening will get the full sample of it. Will that change the forecast much at this point? Probably not, but we'll see. We'll see what the new evening data says. But otherwise, I'm pretty confident with what I've got on the forecast. And if you missed it and you're late and all that kind of stuff, I'll show you the map again. And then I'm going to turn you loose. Because I got nothing more I can tell you. That's why. I've told you everything there is to know. All right, so let's see. Let's go to Sunday. So there's noontime. So from the morning to noon, breaking out of snow across pretty much most of the state, exception maybe down across the southern counties and out to the Panhandle area. And then during the afternoon, the heavy stuff will start to wind down and move off. We still, I think, will have residual flurries throughout the evening hours on Sunday. Now, those kind of flurries, like the flurries for today, they really won't add up to much. Or anything at all, but they'll still be around, and then we'll get another round that comes in Sunday night into Monday morning. There you can see the signal of it here in the data, and that will kind of shift for eastern and southeastern Oklahoma during the early morning on Monday, and then that's where we probably get a little bit more sleet mixed in here in southeast Oklahoma, but also some good heavy snow amounts. So there's a morning at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then that will start to wind down by lunchtime and then move out of the state. And there's one last little dusting or flurry of snow for Monday night and Tuesday morning that'll zip through. Again, not looking for a whole lot of accumulation with that one also. And that's pretty much it. Now, as far as amounts are concerned, let's see. I liked the American model output the best, believe it or not. And I will laugh at this one a lot because every once in a while it's right. So I think this time is probably the closest that the others are to being right, given what I have to work with. So, and actually, ironically, when we looked at the Weather Service output, it was very similar. So we're both thinking the same thing, so that's not a bad line to be on. But for right now, it's kind of like this for a 1 to 2 inches, this corridor from like here to here. And then it's going to depend on how much sleet gets mixed in here. This could easily be 1 to 2 inches too. Or even down here. It depends on if there's less sleet, then it can be 3 inches of snow. And then the best favorite area of snowfall really along the I-40 corridor here into northeastern Oklahoma, kind of in this little quadrant for 3 to 4. So that's what I'm saying. I kind of do like the output here of the American model. And it's not good at getting specific or exact, but when you're talking about snow, you can't do that anyway. So that's the one I like. So that still means a dusting or at least some flurries down here in southwest Oklahoma, but not much else anywhere else in this little white area where nothing is expected of any significance. So there you go. So that's the latest on that. All right. Well, that was a fun little deal. Went on really long, but I had so much to talk about. But now you know where it's supposed to snow, and now you know when it's going to snow. So, and now you know why it snowed earlier today. If you missed out, you can check the reel that I have on my Facebook wall as to why it snowed today. I told you it was going to happen yesterday. So that way, if you're watching other people and they didn't say it was going to snow and you were taken by surprise, you watched the wrong people. All right, well, I'm going to get out of here one more time. If you're late and you missed most of this broadcast because you don't get notified, and you're late to the party, click this link right here. I'm just now posting it. Join my broadcast channel, and I will let you know when I do go live through your Facebook Messenger. I just send a little brief deal. It says we're going live, and that way you can join it if you're available. Or you can watch the replay anytime. Guys, have a great rest of your Saturday. I don't know if I'll be on this evening. If I'm around, I will. If I'm not, doing out. Obviously, I won't. Regardless, I might try to post an updated snowfall map if it's going to change. If it looks about the same, I probably won't bother. And then we'll see how it goes for tomorrow. So bundle up, stay warm, protect those pets and the plants. Well, plants, too late for them. The pipes, everybody else. We'll talk soon. Take care.